London, Paris, Venice, Istanbul. They're some of the world's most visited cities, and for a good reason. They're iconic, they're stunning, and they're absolutely worth visiting at least once. But they're also expensive, and honestly, now more than ever. Even a short trip can cost you a small fortune once you factor in hotels, food, entrance fees, and everything in between. But here's the good news. There are plenty of places in and around Europe that are much cheaper, much less crowded, and just as interesting. So in this video, we're looking at 5 highly underrated and affordable places that could turn your next trip from an overpriced disaster into something way more exciting, way more memorable, and way easier on your wallet. I've recently visited all 5 of these places myself, so I'll share what they actually cost, why they're worth your time, and a few insider tips I picked up along the way. And if you like to eat, make sure to stay tuned for number 5 because it will blow your mind. Let's start with one of the most surprising European cities I've been to recently, Tirana. Albania's capital city has a totally different vibe than the rest of Europe. It's chaotic, colorful, and kind of unpredictable, but in the best way. You've got brutalist communist architecture right next to Ottoman-era buildings, Italian cafes, and a lot more that's hard to even put a label on. And the same goes for the culture. Albania's a mix of influences with different religions and traditions coexisting side by side. Plus, although it's become a little more popular in recent years, the cost of traveling here is still insanely low. You could end up paying around 20 or 30 euros for a decent place to stay, local meals were often under 5 euros, and transportation was never too expensive. And here's the biggest draw for many. You're just a few hours away from some of the most beautiful beaches in Europe. The Albanian Riviera has water as clear as Greece or Croatia, since it's right between them. But it's also got half the tourists and everything costs a fraction of the price. And there's one little bonus with Albania. Since it's not yet in the Schengen zone or EU, it's a great place to spend some time between other European countries while your visa clock resets. But if you're going for that more classical European city vibe, you still don't have to settle for pricey Paris or my money's gone Milan. Nope, there's Krakow. A city that somehow hasn't let its popularity ruin its prices yet. It's got the fairy tale architecture of Western Europe. Think Habsburg-style buildings, cobbled old towns and castles, but it's way more affordable. There's also a huge mix of history here. One of my favorite areas in Krakow is Kazimierz, the historically Jewish neighborhood that's now packed with cafes, street art, and some serious nightlife. It's got this unique vibe where the old and the new just kind of blend together. The food scene is underrated too. I mean, we are talking about Polish food after all. Pierogi, grilled sausages, potato pancakes, hearty, filling meals that you can usually get for under 10 euros. And that's at sit-down restaurants too, by the way, not just street food. Though you do have to try the zapiekanka. You basically could describe it as a Polish pizza. The classic Krakowian one, and I've got some garlic sauce on it too. And accommodation? You can still find solid private rooms for between 30 and 40 euros a night. And hostels are even cheaper. And outside of Krakow itself, there is a lot to see and do too. Do not skip the salt mines because they are way cooler than they sound. Wieliczka salt mine is the biggest salt mine in the world, but it's a little bit pricey to get into. If you want a cheaper alternative for a similar experience, you can check out Bochnia salt mine. And taking a day trip to nearby Auschwitz is an important thing to consider. But really, make sure you're mentally prepared for something that heavy. There's just a lot of layers to this Polish city and its surrounding areas. But if you're thinking more about a Mediterranean vibe, try Cyprus. This country is not talked about nearly enough. It's part of the European Union, it uses the euro, and it's got this unique blend of Greek and Turkish culture. But really it's something all its own. The beaches are beautiful, the weather is great most of the year, and the interior is full of sleepy villages, monasteries, and mountain drives. While the resort areas can get pretty pricey, the rest of the island is surprisingly affordable. And there's honestly so much more here than just resorts. You could rent a car here for around 25 euros a day, though the public transport's a bit hit or miss. I stayed near the beach in the city of Larnaca for well under 100 euros a night, and the food is mostly similar to Greek food, but still, it's its own thing. Plus, I never paid over 10 euros for a meal. I did visit during the summer, which was nice, but if I'd visit again, I would go during shoulder season. That's basically late springtime or early fall. So think April and May or September and October. The prices will be lower, there will be less crowds, but the weather will still be solid. Okay, so this one is technically outside of Europe, but it's just across the water. It's literally closer to mainland Italy than some Italian islands, and just about 50 miles from Malta. But it's a totally different world. Tunisia gives you ancient ruins, desert landscapes, Mediterranean beaches, and flavorful food. all for a fraction of what you would pay in most of Southern Europe. And it's pretty easy to get around too. There's a national rail system, cheap long-distance taxis, and there's frequent flights to take you down to the Sahara Desert. Fun fact, Sahara means desert in Arabic. None of the country's transportation options are that expensive, and if you go to the right restaurant, you can get a solid meal for like 2 or 3 euros. Staying somewhere won't cost you that much either, with the cheapest of cheap hotel rooms costing you somewhere between 15 and 20 euros a night. I went for a slightly more upscale option in the country's capital of Tunis, staying in the former British embassy, but we're still talking like 50 or 60 euros a night. Culturally, Tunisia is a fascinating place. It's Arab, Berber, French influenced, also Mediterranean. It's hard to categorize really. Let's just say it's Tunisian, and that's what really makes it worth visiting. If you do decide to visit though, just make sure to stay updated on travel advisories, especially if you plan to travel near the Libyan border where things can change frequently. Locals can help inform you about the situation if you ask, and overall this country is welcoming and safe for travelers. Now, all the places I've mentioned so far have great food, but if food is one of your main reasons for traveling, there's one place you have to go. Well, two places actually, but they're deeply connected and in the same region of southern Turkey: Gaziantep and Şanlıurfa. Locals affectionately refer to their cities as Antep and Urfa. Gaziantep is the baklava capital of the world. It's insane. This baklava is eaten like this. The pistachios here are on a whole different level, and you'll eat better here than almost anywhere in the country. Many would say the world. Plus, there is just culture and history galore with a massive castle overlooking the city and the world's largest museum of mosaics. You surely know Mona Lisa, but here you'll find the Turkish Mona Lisa. The second city I mentioned, Şanlıurfa on the other hand, is one of the most spiritual and historic cities of the region. It's often referred to as the birthplace of Abraham. The castle behind me is about 2,000 years old, and it's sitting atop a mound that's about 10,000 years old. And just outside of the city, you've got the archaeological site of Göbekli Tepe, which is often referred to as the world's oldest temple. Plus, the food here is at least almost as amazing as in Gaziantep. I'm trying to be fair to both cities here because they both take their food seriously. Honestly, you can't really go wrong with either, but you'd better visit both. They also happen to be just a short bus ride or drive away from each other. Anyway, in Şanlıurfa, you'll find all kinds of kebabs, rich stews, and one of my favorite street foods ever: shig kufta. It was actually invented here. The original recipe included raw meat, but these days it's centered around bulgur wheat and a tasty mix of spices. It also happens to be vegan. It's spicy, fresh, and outside of Turkey, it's totally underrated. And in Şanlıurfa, you'll find it on nearly every corner. Now, let's be real. Turkey is no longer as cheap as it once was, especially in tourist-heavy areas like Istanbul or along the coast. But once you go down south, prices drop significantly. And what you get in return in terms of food, hospitality, and culture is honestly priceless. In Gaziantep, I found massive meals for around 5 euros, and Şanlıurfa has some of the best kebab I've had anywhere. If you do visit during Ramadan like I did, and you're the type of traveler who wants to try everything, just know you may have some trouble tracking down the city's famous liver kebab, which every local will tell you to try. A lot of places only serve it early in the morning, and during Ramadan those hours can get even trickier. Closed. But even if you miss it, the food scene here is still next level. And maybe the best part, hardly any international tourists. Not many travelers can say they've been to these two cities, but once you go, you'll be the one convincing everyone else they should. These aren't the only underrated and budget-friendly destinations in or around Europe, but they're 5 of my personal favorites that I've recently checked out. They're the kind of places that surprise you in the best ways. Lower costs, fewer crowds, and often a deeper sense of culture and connection. And if you want more videos like this, I will happily make a part 2. Just comment which places you'd like to see featured. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching this, and I'll see you all in the next one.